Welcome to a new Retool tutorial. I'm super excited. This week I was able to do something that I hadn't been able to do for so long, which is apply a heat map to a Retool component table. I had in the past used custom components and other solutions which I didn't like, but this week I finally made it and I'm going to share how to do it in 3 or 4 simple steps, and you're going to love it and you're going to be able to apply it to all your tables that are reports for your clients or for yourself. Let's go. Right. So I have a very simple, you can see this is going to be the end result. You have on the left a name, whether that's a company or a product or whatever you want to report on. On top, you have the months and then the totals and the last column. And a bonus is you can let also your users select the color they prefer, which is also really cool. All right, let's just go step by step. There are 3 general steps that we need to take. The first one is to pull your data. The second one is to structure your data so that it does it like this. You get all the months, and then you also fill in the gaps of all of the months and clients where there's no data, so you get the 0. The third step is to get your max values and minimum values for each column. And then finally, we will do a function to apply the color. Let's go. Okay, the first one is getting your data. This is quite simple. I have an SQL pulling from my database. You need 3 elements. You need a date. I have my invoice date, which is where we're going to pull the months from. You need an amount, which is going to be filling in your columns. And then you need the name based on what you're going to be actually showing the results. I have a case because I would like to filter it. This is also for you as an example. I can filter by product, and then it changes to product, and I change to company. So that is showing me based on that. So I have that, and then I have my filters. Also, I have the year, so I filter based on that. Great. Now, once you do that, however, one last step before I forget is to transform your results. You have to add return format data as array so that you get a result like this one. You get an array for each single value: amount, invoice date, product name. So something I forgot to say at the beginning, which is very important, on the comments, I'm going to leave a link to a post to the Retool forum where I have provided all of the queries and all of the data and all of the explanation, and also a downloadable file which you can actually upload to Retool so you can get this and see this in play. All right, let's keep going. The second step is actually organizing your data so that it looks like this. As you can see here, we don't really get this. If we were to use this data, we will get for each one of these 1 row. We would get a table with 103 rows, which is not what we want. The second step, I just had this JavaScript, which I will refer then to that forum post, which basically what it does is this is a transformer. So it's actually every time the variable change, so every time this query changes, it will return a result. The result that it's providing, as you can see, is 1 row for each company or each product. And you can see it actually returns for each month a value, if there is in the previous query a value for that month, and a grand total. It will sum everything and we'll put it there. So now we can actually use this query, this transformer, as the data source for our table. This is where you put your table and you put your data source here, because now you have 1 row for each company in this case. Right, let's move into the next step, which is getting the max and minimums. So with another transformer, again, the transformer changes every time the main variable changes, which in this case, we're using this transformer here. And what this will be doing, basically, it will go through each column. So here it will search every month. And then a heads up, you will see this in the forum post, so go for it. If your native language is not English or your application is not the language, you can actually change here the language so that your months appear in that language that you have selected, right? So what this transformer does is just gets a max and a minimum value for each month. You can see the max and you can see the minimums, and also for the grand total. Very simple. Great. Now let's go to the last step, which is create a global function, a sync function. Now, heads up, not everyone has this. It's a private beta. I wanted to test it, so I used this video as well to do this. You can see in the description box also a link to the forum post where you can request it for your domain. But this is what it basically does. It's a function that you can call everywhere in your application. And I have parameters. I have, again, amount, month, and the heatmap data, which is my max and minimums. And basically, and this is a little bit complicated for me, was also a first experience dealing with hue color and how hue is being set up. So, but what this does is you can define a color for your minimum, which is this one, and a color for your maximum. So what I like that is that all of my maximums look the same way. So the maximum in April looks the same way as the maximum in May. So, and the minimum likewise. So that's what I wanted. So you decide that, and then these are the colors for that. And then you decide based on that, everything in between. There's this calculation to calculate saturation and brightness, and then you return that. There's a further explanation of how that works. I kind of understand it, but I won't get into the details in this video. So basically what you're going to do is pass the variables, and this will return a value, a color. For example, this is one color for this values, right? And it will search the max and the minimum. With that function, we can now go into the table, and this is going to be a little bit tedious, but once you've done it once, then you can do it. You can change all your columns with one click. You go to the column, generate, and you go to the background, and you basically, call the function. So my function is get color, and I pass the values. Item is the amount. So remember, this column setting, this background goes row by row, and based on that, you can use item to define what the value is. So I could decide if item is higher than 1000, then apply red, otherwise apply green, right? And it will go iterate each row and apply a color. What we're doing here is iterating. So select the item, which is number. For example, here we'll go 109,000, 000, blah, blah, blah. Send the max or min. So it's sending this information, which will always be the same. Oh, sorry. And in the middle, January. So you're saying this is January. This is the column for January. So basically, this function will say this is January, find the max and the minimum for January. And if the value that is being sent matches max or minimum, apply that color. If not, calculate the saturation and the light based on a graduation of the max and the minimum. So you're going to be getting the same color and that gradient. And after that, then you just have to go and change it to all of the other columns, making sure you're just sending the month that you're in so that it finds your maximum and minimum value. Okay, and finally, the color select. This is a color input component. I didn't discover it until recently, but it's really cool. This allows you to select a color. However, this comes on RGB value. So in that case, I created another transformer which takes this as an input and then transform it into a hue color. So again, I won't go into the details of this because I don't understand them either, but you get this color. So this thing, you go back to the get color function. This is an example, but basically what you're passing is this color input. So I select color, and here, if you don't want to apply this functionality, the only thing you need to change here is the color. So I would add 132 here and here and here, and then by default you would have one color. But here we're sending this value, and then if you go back to the column, you will see that this is how the last part of our function, it's, oops, come on, open up. It's RGB2H value, which will always be the same based on this select component, this color pick component. Cool. So based on that, now you have a heat map on your table. You can allow your users to select which color they prefer, and you're going to keep consistency across columns, and then you can reduce the intensity, the lightness, the opacity, play around with the hue settings, and decide how intense you want it to be. I really hope you enjoy this. I really liked it. I enjoyed preparing this and the guide in the Retool forum. So go to the post, give me a thumbs up if you like it and you used it, or a comment if you have any questions or doubts. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and throw a question in the comment box if there's anything you would like me to do in Retool for you. I love Retool, and it's an incredible tool, very flexible, and there's amazing things we can do. So I'm happy to do more videos for you.